Welcome to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series, brought to you by the CT Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. We're having a conversation about work-life balance, how to navigate and overcome challenges within your career, and how to make business more accommodating to a diverse workforce.
Hello, my name is Jessica Navarro. I'm the Executive Director of Communication at Bauer College of Business, and I am here with Mark Garcia-Prats, and he is the founder and Director of Education for Small Places, and he's also pursuing an MBA here at Bauer College. So, Mark, tell us about yourself.
Hi, well, first of all, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to this conversation. So I started the MBA program here at Bauer. This is my second semester, so I'm almost done with my first year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's an accomplishment right there.
A little bit of a milestone. I'm not there yet. I got 3 weeks left to reach that milestone, to finish the year. But from Houston, native Houstonian, grew up in the city, a big family of 9 brothers, so I kind of just grew up and got to see a lot of Houston through my brothers and all of their activities. Went to school at Seattle University to get my undergrad, so I left the city for a little while. Studied literature, actually.
Okay.
So Bachelor in Arts there. And then after that, worked for the Park Service for a little while out in West Texas, Big Bend National Park. Loved the wilderness, outdoors. And then moved back home after 2 years there and started teaching. So I started teaching in the East End here, Second Ward, Houston.
Very cool.
At a small private school there. So I taught there and was principal for a small amount of time.
What did you teach?
Literature. So English, reading and writing, middle schoolers.
Fun.
Yes, I love middle schoolers. They get a bad rap, but in a classroom, they're very fun. So
Yeah.
I love teaching. And then so that was about 2 years ago. So I did some consulting after I finished teaching. And in 2014, my brothers and I co-founded Small Places, which is an urban farm in East Downtown. And yeah, that brings us to about here.
Yeah, so 2014, Small Places. You think Houston, I don't know that many people think of farms when they think of Houston. Tell us about the reception when you started the business and what exactly you guys do there.
Sure. So, I mean, most people thought we were crazy and probably still think we're a little bit crazy. You know, when we talked about starting a farm, so first of all, I co-founded it with 2 of my brothers, so Tommy and Danny. So we run it together, and they run it full-time. That is their, full-time job. They spend all their time running this farm.
Doing the actual farm work themselves?
They used to. So we actually have 2 full-time employees now, so they kind of spend their energy looking to expand and kind of just business development.
Okay.
So a little bit less on the farm, but still full-time doing farm-related work.
Very cool. And where is the farm located? If you
Sure.
could...
So it's about 2 miles here from the campus, but it is on Navigation and North Greenwood Street.
Okay.
So the Second Ward.
Okay. Very cool. And what kind of things do you guys do there? It's an urban farm. Explain to us what exactly that is for someone who might not know.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, we are very much in the middle of the city. The industrial warehouses surround us. There's a giant coffee plant that makes lots of noise and smoke nearby us. So we're very urban, and it's 1.25 acres.
Wow.
So it's 1.25 acres, and we grow on about 3/4 of an acre, and the rest of it we use as kind of gathering space. But we started it 4 years ago, just about, and so we grow vegetables. We grow greens, traditional produce. We grow lots of things there, and our goal is to sell it to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we try to keep all of our produce as local as possible. And so that's kind of our key component, is growing produce and food production.
Okay.
And from that, we think there's a lot of value from that. So we also we want to be a creative hub for the East End as well. So we host lots of classes, tours, field trips, private events, music, weddings. I mean, we've kind of done lots of things there, and we see urban agriculture as a way to engage our communities in a different way and create a creative space for neighborhoods.
Yeah. And so that specific area of Houston, why is it so important to have something like Small Places there kind of fueling and adding to the value in that community?
Sure. So, I mean, I think why we chose that is because that's where I was. I taught in the Second Ward. I live in the Second Ward. And so that's kind of just where our gaze was at the time. But Second Ward is also a food desert. So food access, just access to fresh, healthy produce.
Yeah.
it's not available there. So, like high quality produce from grocery stores, it's not really there.
Right.
So it's, if you're familiar with the term food desert, it's just access to that food is not there. So for us, it seemed like a great place to kind of address those issues there. And also, there's a vacant land in the second ward that didn't have anything on it. So that was kind of, it chose us in a little.
Yeah, kind of all came together. So kind of researching your story and looking into you on the Small Places website, I see that you guys talk about limited resource farming. So tell me what that is and why that's important for you guys in the business.
Absolutely. So we started our farm with $15,000. So when we think about limited resource farming, it was limited funds. That's part of it. And then also part of the idea of urban farms is leveraging our local urban community. When we talked about starting an urban farm, a lot of people were like, why? Like, you can move 20 miles further out, get 20 acres, grow tons more. And our argument has always been that, agriculture's been pushed out of our urban core.
Yeah.
And people aren't connected anymore to food production. And so kind of our thesis is that it's time to move agriculture back into the center of cities. I mean, that's the center of politics, commerce, arts, culture, all these different things. And agriculture is not a part of it anymore.
Right.
So our argument is always to kind of push and find a place for agriculture in the center of our cities, kind of as these hubs of culture. And we think agriculture can be a culture creator as well. Mm-hmm. And so, limited resource farming was the only way we were going to make it work.
Yeah.
So we had $15,000. We bought as many tools as we could. And we, for starting a farm, buying soil can be really expensive.
Uh-huh.
Greenhouses can be really expensive. And mainly soil is really expensive. So we basically leveraged our local community. And, there was actually Centerpoint tree trimming companies parked right next door to us. And we basically saw them and flagged them down, and in their trucks are giant amounts of tree trimmings, basically just wood chips.
Yeah.
That they've trimmed the power line paths, and then they mulch it. And so they pay to get all this, to dump all of this. So we took all of this for free, and basically we've raised up the level of the entire acre and a half, and we've amended it. So we've created really high quality soil basically for free on the farm. So
that's entrepreneurship right there.
So that's an idea. That's kind of what we mean by limited resources.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money to go buy an acre and a half of soil. So we made it ourselves, and we got it for free. And, my brother Tommy spent lots of years farming. So he's farmed all throughout the country, abroad. So he came back from Nicaragua farming there. And so he's just really knowledgeable when it comes to growing things. And he kind of built our soil.
Very cool. And so what's the reception been like in the community kind of since, you guys launched in 2014, you got everything set up? What's the community response been?
I mean, it's mixed. You have some that are really excited about it, and then some that are just really confused by it. I think it takes time to build trust in communities.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of our arguments is, this idea of patient capital and patience when it comes to people who want to invest in you and who are looking to change neighborhoods, and it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah.
And especially when you're trying to change the way people think about food, it doesn't happen overnight. Food's something we really identify with.
Right.
And so, slowly building relationships in the community over the last 4 years. I mean, we feel like we've really kind of integrated ourselves in the community, and slowly more and more people are coming to shop there and spending time there. It's a really beautiful place, so people just like to come and walk through the gardens and sit under the oaks. We call the farm, it's Finca Tres Robles, so it's 3 Oaks Farm, because there's 3 giant oaks there. And so, the community slowly is slowly understanding what we're doing and participating in what we're doing.
Do you have visiting hours, or are you just an open space where people can kind of come in and take in the farm?
In general, we're pretty much not going to turn anybody away, but we do have official market times. So Wednesday afternoon, evenings, we have open market. So we have a farm stand, and we sell direct from the farm.
Okay.
On Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evenings from 2 to 7, and then on Saturday mornings from 8 to 2. Okay. So, those are kind of our most popular times, but, if someone comes by, the gates are open, they can kind of peruse and ask some questions. So that happens often.
So we talked a little bit before about Houston kind of, I think, even within the city, but certainly people who don't live in Houston, when you get the perception of Houston, you probably think of a lot of freeways and a lot of kind of concrete buildings and that sort of activity. You don't really think of green space and farming or even kind of outdoor sort of activities. So tell me your Houston. How do you see Houston? How would you describe it to someone?
I think when you get off the freeways, you see a whole amazing side of Houston. I mean, I'm from Houston. I've watched the city change over the years, and I love this city, and I think it's amazing. It has a lot to offer. And, you know, I think one thing about Houston is we're not very good at telling our own story.
Sure, yeah.
And so podcasts like this are really important. But there's a lot of amazing stories in Houston that are going untold, and I think just the general experience of Houston, and like I said, there's lots of green spaces, and when you get off the freeways, there's just amazing neighborhoods with incredible history, and Second Ward is one of those as well, where we are. But just the Bayou Greenway projects, and I mean, there's a lot of initiatives building out green space in the city, and there's just lots of trees, so it's just green itself if you get up high and look down upon it.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of our ideas too, is we think Houston has a pretty unique opportunity for urban agriculture throughout. You know, it's a unique city when it comes to its landscape. It's relatively flat. There's lots of growing seasons here, and it's a big city. It's densifying, and we think, now is the time to kind of plan an infrastructure for urban agriculture, where cities like Chicago, New York, some of these much more dense cities don't have that opportunity. It's lost to them, and Houston, I think, is positioned to kind of make a name for itself and kind of present a unique position in the country as having urban agriculture there. So that's kind of part of our argument, and something we're trying to prove to the city, that it's valuable and it's important and it's economically sustainable and is fun and creative.
So, you said you founded Small Places with your brothers. You also serve as director of education. So talk to us about some of the educational opportunities that you guys offer through Small Places.
Absolutely. So field trips is a big thing for us, so just engaging with our schools. So we have partnered with most of the local HISD schools to just host classes either on the farm or help support programming on their campuses, from building raised beds. So we host field trips, and field trips from across the city, our schools from across the city come and take field trips there, from 4-year-olds all the way up to high schoolers, and actually colleges as well. We've hosted university groups out there. So field trips is a big part of that. And then additionally, we host more, think of like maker, are you familiar with the makerspace movement? Yeah. So very much just, classes, kind of like the DIY community. So how do you, for example, like we have kombucha, how to brew your own kombucha classes coming up, how to make sourdough bread, growing herbs, growing tomatoes, tree grafting, survival skills. I'm trying to think of all the classes we have coming up.
That's awesome, yeah.
But just a lot of classes for people who just want to spend their weekends doing something kind of constructive and learning something new and learning new skills. So cooking classes, etc. So really we've actually partnered with TXRX, which is one of the largest maker spaces in the country actually, and that's located in the Second Ward as well. So they host lots of classes for, more of kind of your engineering, crafts, building, and we partner with them and kind of give them a whole nother dimension to their offerings.
Very cool. That's, definitely not necessarily something that I think I even knew was just so close to campus. You have beautiful farm, vegetables, fresh vegetables you can go out and get, and then all of these learning opportunities. That's really cool and exciting. So you mentioned that you work alongside your brothers, and you mentioned a little bit about your brother who has the farming background, but tell us more about those two brothers and how you guys collaborate together.
Absolutely. So Tommy he's the farmer. If it wasn't for him, everything would die on the farm, most likely. So he went to school in Providence, Rhode Island, and then after college, ended up taking an apprenticeship in Maine. It's kind of just a farm apprenticeship, just kind of out of curiosity, and he loved it, and he had a great mentor there, and it just kind of, it snowballed as an interest for him, and he worked on farms in Iowa and in Texas and in Central America, and so, he spent 6 years almost traveling and working on farms, so he really developed that skill set. So he runs all of our agricultural processes and systems. And then Danny is an engineer by trade. So he's a mechanical engineer, has a master's in mechanical engineering from University of Santa Clara. And he worked in Silicon Valley at a medical device startup for some time, and then oil and gas in Houston for a small time, and just is interested in entrepreneurship as well. So kind of he helps with all of our operations, marketing. He's just good at a lot of things. So he just helps run our operations really smoothly.
And you guys work well together. You're brothers, so I'm assuming you either get along or you don't.
Most of the time we get along.
I have brothers too. So.
There's definitely heated discussions and debates, but no, we like working with each other and we like each other. And that creative energy is good, when we see things differently. And we're all very different, from engineering, farming, education.
Yeah.
I mean, they're different backgrounds. And I think we complement each other well. And I think that's one of our strengths is that we can have really candid conversations with each other, which is really important when you're an entrepreneur and trying to make something work is you have to be really honest with yourself and your situation and your challenges and opportunities. And so our ability to have really honest conversations is really helpful for us.
Yeah. So I'm curious, you mentioned, that you guys aren't necessarily doing the farm work yourself, but tell me about life on the farm and a day kind of in the life of small places. What does that look like?
It starts very early. So Tommy's still active in the farming there, but we do have 2 full-time farm managers that work there, which is also really neat because we've trained 2 farmers. There are 3 farmers in this city now because of small places.
Wow.
So it's kind of also provides opportunities for young people interested in agriculture. So, so Zay actually is a Rice grad who kind of runs our farm right now. And she and Tommy and Samuel usually arrive pretty early, 6 o'clock, 6:15, and will start their day. And that goes from, prepping beds, harvesting, weeding, managing the greenhouses. I mean, you'd be surprised how much work an acre of growing will take you, or will take. And so that's it. It's usually, and most of the harvesting and that sort of work is done in the morning, usually before noon. And then the rest of it is just maintenance, cleaning. There's a lot of social engagement, so volunteer groups, field trips, marketing, communicating with vendors, and that sort of thing that keep the farm busy. And I'm trying to think, Wednesdays and Fridays are the most busy days. Those are our harvest days. So we host a CSA there. So for those not familiar, that's community supported agriculture. And what that model is, and it's a fairly common model throughout the nation, but it's basically community members purchase a share of the season in advance.
Okay.
And then for whatever that length of the season, 12 weeks, they get a bag of the produce harvested. So they invest in the season up front, and then they come to the farm on Wednesdays and pick up their bag of the produce.
Very cool.
So on Wednesdays and Fridays, we do that. So we're preparing the bags. And trying to think what else. On Fridays, we partner with a local preschool, Ninfa Lorenzo, which is an HISD preschool. And we actually have community sponsors who buy CSA shares for families at the preschool.
Oh, that's awesome.
So their parents, it's just a block away. They come and pick up their produce. And we host classes with the food bank for them as well on the farm. So we kind of
very cool
engage our community that way. But those Wednesdays and Fridays are busy days for harvesting and cleaning the produce and getting it packaged.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to take a very short break to hear a message from a sponsor, and then we will be right back with Mark Garcia-Prats.
Bauer College's executive education program is training business professionals and leaders to tackle the challenges of tomorrow. Courses in consulting, strategy, analytics, project management, and more led by Bauer's award-winning faculty. Find open enrollment programs at bauer.uh.edu/exec.
Okay, so we're back with Mark Garcia-Prats, and I know that you mentioned you're pursuing your MBA and you're kind of making your way through the program. Tell us a little bit more about what brought you to Bauer College and the MBA program.
Absolutely. So I'm interested in commercial real estate development. So the Bauer has the commercial real estate program through the MBA. So that's really why I am here, is specifically for that program. And it is connected to the farm. I mean, through the farm, I've met developers, I've met city officials, et cetera. And it really kind of opened my eyes to my interest in land use, commercial development, neighborhoods, et cetera. So that's kind of why I'm here. And it's really to develop that skill set.
Yeah.
The accounting, finance, marketing skill set. I mean, you can learn it on your own, but it's usually more expensive learning it on your own because you make lots of mistakes. And so coming to develop those skills and just giving myself the time to really focus on those to learn about that. And so that's why I'm here. And I've loved my time here at Bauer.
Yeah, and so I think that's important to kind of bring up that you, in your undergrad, you studied literature and kind of not as far from the business realm as you can be, but pretty far, right?
Absolutely.
Did you ever imagine that you would be pursuing a business degree or that this would be the route that you would take?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I never thought, probably the idea popped into my head 2 years ago, maybe that'd be something I'd be interested in. And that definitely comes from small places and being connected with the farm and entrepreneurship. But no, lots of people that I know and have known for a long time are like, wait, what? You're doing your MBA?
Okay.
People said you're going to the dark side. I heard people say, but I've loved it. I recommend everyone go get an MBA.
Yeah,
so.
you'd be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised, but I think a business education and like you mentioned, the accounting and kind of some of the management stuff that you do and the different courses, like no matter what you're going to end up doing, that stuff adds value.
Absolutely. I think of entrepreneurship in a very wide perspective. Often it's thought of as kind of like starting a business, right? Like that's entrepreneurship. But I see, even starting a business, it's a way of creating culture. And so, I think artists are entrepreneurship. So as an artist, it's a huge risk to write a book, to take the time to, maybe you're a novelist and you write a book and you throw it out there. And that's a huge risk of time, energy. And it's also just scary to put yourself out there like that. And so I see kind of like people who are creative in that way and people who are starting a business so similarly. And I think even like in a nonprofit sense or all these different kind of ways to be creative in a city and in your community, they're very similar. And I think even the skills learned at an MBA apply across the board.
And so I think going back to talking about the farm's place in the community and just the idea of small business. So the reason why we're talking is because I'm writing a story about you for the next issue of Inside Bauer magazine. And the whole theme of the magazine is about small business. And so talk to me about the importance of having these businesses right in your own backyard. You know who is running them. The owner knows, the customers and kind of the community. Why is that so important here in Houston and across the country?
Absolutely. Small businesses come from the communities where they are in general, right? Like you don't move to a new city to launch a small business, right? You launch it where you are because you know who you're serving. And that's usually the idea for your product or your service comes from realizing that need in the community. So I think one is just connected there to its people and to its needs. You know it so well, and it doesn't always come from market research that you bought, and sometimes it's just those conversations and living in that community, you know what's needed there.
Yeah.
So I think it's really valuable in that way. And then I think, innovation, small businesses, I think, are where innovation happens. I think we often think of it in these giant corporate terms and research and development. You think of these kind of like giant research and development arms from large corporations. And obviously there's plenty of innovation comes there, but also it comes from these small businesses and people pushing into their communities. And, I call it the nitty gritty, like the nitty gritty is where ideas come from. It's when you're running something, when you're really working with an idea, it's when you're dealing with it day to day that the big ideas come to you. And, they don't come from sitting down in a chair staring off at the sky. And if they do for other people, I'm very jealous. But at least for me, that's not where they come from. They come from the nitty gritty. And I think of small businesses as, they're in the nitty gritty every day. They're kind of dealing with their customers. They're talking to their customers. They're pushing ideas and taking big risks. And so, yeah, small businesses.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
And so you kind of dropped a little bit of a bomb that I left there at the beginning of the interview, but you're one of 10 sons that your parents have. Is that right?
Correct.
That is mind-blowing to me because
yes,
I have one son and I can't imagine having 10. And again, as I was researching you, I found a blog that you wrote about your mom and she was featured on Oprah. Is that right?
That is
and
true.
So that led to kind of like a publishing career for her. Tell us a little bit more about your parents and just growing up being one of 10.
Sure. So I grew up one of 10 boys. So we're 18 years apart.
Okay.
So oldest was 18 when the last one was born.
And where do you factor into
I'm in the middle child. I'm the ultimate middle child. I'm number 6 there.
Okay.
So buried in the middle, which is a good position to be. You kind of go under the radar very, very well there. But yeah, I grew up in Houston. My dad is a doctor. He works for Bauer College of Medicine. And my mom raised us,
Yeah, that's a big job.
Which is a huge task. And yeah, just a really active, creative childhood. When you have that many brothers, there's just no shortage of like
mischief you can get into.
Mischief, everything. I mean, but really exciting though, and curious. Just the curiosity was always there, and exploring, and just being a part of my. When you're younger and you have a brother who's whatever 10 years older than you get exposed to lots of things, and just you start learning about the world. And for me, that was really exciting to it was just an education in and of itself. My household, know, so. Yeah, and we're close. Like, my brothers are close. We're friends. It sounds like there'd probably be like, rough and tumble, glasses broken everywhere, and just a disaster. But no, my house was well ordered. And, people will say to my mom, they're like, oh, 10 sons, like, poor woman. And I'm like, you've never met my mom. Like, she is a very feisty, strong-willed woman. So
she would have to be, I would think.
Yes, she would have to be, absolutely. Yeah. But so she ended up writing a book about parenting.
Yeah, I mean, you raised 10 boys. Yes. You are qualified to tell other people about that.
Absolutely. So she wrote. So she's written 2 books. Good families don't just happen, and good sons don't just happen. And I mean, again, entrepreneurship, she kind of took it on herself to write these books. And she wrote these books like while parenting, which is kind of incredible to think about.
And did she have any background in any of that, or did she just kind of figure out how to do it once she got the idea to do it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, she was an educator she taught for a year. That's what her background was, in education. And but very quickly had lots of children, so stayed home. But she just felt she kind of started doing some speaking and just kind of teaching and talking, and slowly realized that there was a lot of people interested in what she had to say, and she had a message. And so figured out how to write a book and how to publish it, and it was published by a publishing company, the first book, and then she ended up publishing her second book.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, talking about your family, and now you're, married and kind of a grown-up yourself, and you're balancing what you do here with the MBA program, running the business with your brothers. Work-life balance, I think, is sort of a joke, right? Because it's more about just integrating your work and your life and everything that you do together. But talk to us about how you do that, and then how you find time just to keep yourself kind of involved in all the things that you love to do.
Absolutely. It's a challenge right now, especially. So my wife is obviously like a huge supporter. Like, I mean, so we actually adopted a little boy about 3 months ago. So he's a 4-month-old at our house. So that kind of added another dimension.
4-month-old is,
the sleep isn't happening tons here, but he's just so lovely, and we're so lucky.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. But my wife helps a lot. I mean, like, the balance is really hard. And I'm also doing an internship in real estate right now, and kind of learning some of the industry that way.
Wow.
And so it's just really busy. And, part of it's like, there's like an end in sight, like I'm overloading my classes right now, and hopefully I'm working towards that balance, and I think there's times when that balance kind of, like you said, it's a fiction, and but it at times you lose the balance, but I think it's important that you work towards it. And but I love all the things that I'm doing, which I think is really important. I mean, it's as hard as it is to wake up at 3 a.m. with Isaac, it's not so bad, because he's really cute and sweet, and I love him. So, there's
I think that's
the
important thing.
I enjoy the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, whether you're doing one thing or 50 things, as long as they're things that make you happy, that's what you're working toward, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
So we're kind of imagining things here. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, specifically with small places, what do you see?
Small places, so we've had a lot of interest from lots of different groups in this city, from real estate developers to hospitals, to the city, the county, nonprofits. And so for us, it's partnering with lots of these different groups and really finding permanent land for a farm. So the land we're currently leasing from the county, but that has, we're a little bit over a year left on that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's definitely, our first farm is kind of a proof of concept, and we're trying to really show people what can be done from it. And so within 5 years, our hope is to be, helping other organizations launch successful farms, and not just growing food, but really engaging, making their farms hubs for education, creativity. We see putting our farms all over this city, and we hope that every farm is unique, right? Connecting to what each community needs. So whether that is a cafe, or that is a commercial kitchen to help entrepreneurs, whether that's office space for coworkers who want a creative, unique space to come to work in every day. So, we'd love to find partners who want to help us kind of like expand our vision for what agriculture can bring to this city. So 5 years, we've got 3-4 farms running around, all of them unique. And then in 10 years, we're expanding out of Houston and showing other cities how to integrate urban agriculture into their neighborhoods.
Yeah, and so for anybody who does want to partner with you, or maybe they just want to drop by the farm and see what it's all about, where can they find you outside of the address, maybe online to look for more information?
Sure, www.smallplaces.org.
Good.
Yeah, you can get all that info there.
Okay, great. Mark, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much. Had fun.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series from the CT Bauer College of Business, brought to you by the Working Families Initiative. The initiative aims to provide support and access for women in business school and the workforce, and to generate research that organizations can use to implement policies and standards to benefit a diverse workforce. For more information about Bauer College and this podcast series, visit www.bauer.uh.edu/podcast.